Hi, everyone. Henry DeVries with Indie Books International. Welcome. This is our monthly Q&A. This is our author and expert community. This is your chance to interact with other authors, build relationships, and that's the theme of today. It's about leveraging relationships to promote your book. And I've got two authors with us today, Jamie Shibley and Russell Hackman. And I'm going to start with Jamie because her book is all about the relationships. And Jamie, tell us a little bit about your book.
Gosh, is this where I hold it up?
Yeah,
Look
that
at,
is where
oh,
you
but
hold
it's
it up, head
backwards.
high,
Yes, head high.
and then you say
So,
the title very slowly and clearly.
yes. So the title is Relationship First Strategic Engagement. And while the subtitle says that it's for agency owners, it actually works for all service-based businesses, business leaders. And it's about how in our very, very high-tech world, maintaining more of a personal human touch is more important than ever in being able to create long-time sustainable businesses these days. And so it goes through the strategies of how to nurture the various categories of relationships that are important to our businesses. So your existing clients, your prospects, strategic partners, and of course your team.
So I'm a contrarian, and I liked Jamie for her book because she is a contrarian. And while other people are out there talking, how to build the bigger list and what we need to do to build the biggest list, like the person with the biggest list wins. If you die with the biggest interest list, you win. And I have found just the exact opposite. The secret is the person with the best relationships. And you can't maintain thousands of people in a relationship. Um, Russell comes from the financial world. We'll interview him in a minute, and I came out of that world too. And we would tell people like, if you can have 250 relationships, you're a star. You're a rock star. Not just I got a name on a list and I send them a birthday card. That is not a relationship. A relationship is curated like a fine exhibit. Um,
Mm.
and uh, and I'm going to talk about Russell's relationships in a moment. But so Jamie brought that, and you evolved. I mean, you started as you had this in the back of your head, but you
Mm-hmm.
started as a gift company where people could
Yeah,
give gifts. How did you evolve the
yeah.
company?
More
Can
fulfillment
I just
than
do you
anything.
mind if I ask one quick background
Sure.
question, Henry?
Yeah.
And Jamie, which is well, first of all, who are the other people on the call besides you and Devin, Henry, in terms of what's their um role in the call? And
Eric's an author, Sig is an author, Robert's an author, Jim's an author, Bob's an author. So
I gotcha.
they are all in some stage, and so it's authors and speakers helping authors and speakers.
I gotcha. And then Jamie, when you say agency, you mean like a advertising agency kind of thing.
Digital agency, yeah.
Digital agency. Okay, perfect. Because
Yeah,
sometimes when I hear agency, I mean I hear like insurance agency. So perfect. Thank you very much.
Sure.
yeah,
And
yeah,
and we might touch into that because while
yeah,
while what she does really helps those, um, there are compliance issues on some relationship building
yeah.
that I hope I didn't get in the weeds on that. But
No,
so
well,
tell us
yeah,
about the evolution where you're helping the marketing
yeah.
agencies, but you also help attorneys,
Financial advisors, yeah, the
financial
financial
advisors.
industry,
Yeah.
a lot of, yeah. Yeah, so we started heavy as fulfillment for a lot of, like, say, the advisors and things like that, where we have consistent need, we send welcome gifts, we send thank yous, and we know what gets sent and out it goes. But what we found is over time, our true gift, pun intended, I guess, is that we understand at a very deep level what makes something meaningful. And that's where the real gold is. Um, when you look at the science behind relationships, so we bring in the social psychology, and social psychology says that in order to be in a relationship with someone, the other person needs to feel three things. They need to feel like you understand them, you validate their world and what's important to them, and that they feel cared for by you. And so our understanding of how to design a touch point that makes someone feel that way is our kind of zone of genius, and what we bring to the table when we talk about the strategy of engaging your important relationship.
What I liked about your book was it didn't just say, which could have been one page, it could have been a blog post about relationships. You know, think about people, no three levels of them.
Yeah.
But you made it more systematic and also brought out that the story behind the gift is as important as the gift. Example, one of my authors, very successful, one of our most successful authors, but when we first started out and I was interviewing him for the book, he showed that his business card had a knight on it. And he was fascinated with knights, and he was fascinated with an old Western show called Paladin. He was also fascinated with Batman, you know, as a knight figure and all that.
Right.
Well, I found it only cost me $2 from the 50s, a trading card with the TV show Paladin,
Ah, look at that.
and I sent it to him. This, and also, I had another client who was when we were interviewing about the thing that shaped him, and like he grew up in the Philadelphia area, didn't have very much money, but the foster mom gave him some extra money, you know, to go buy cigarettes for her, and something for yourself. And there were baseball cards, and it was the packs where you could see the people, and Mike Schmidt, the star of the Philadelphia Phillies, was on the front. So he
Ah,
bought that and with the change, and this was his, you know, prized possession. Well, I have an extensive baseball card collection. I sent him a few Mike Schmidts,
oh,
you know, later in some interview he said, "It's on my desk." Uh,
yeah.
Jamie, some of behind me, I'm not going to show it, but some things that Jamie or Jamie's clients have sent me that were curated just for me, um, are on my desk. You know, it's that kind of impact. And then the whole thing is like, and then who am I going to call when I have a referral to make in that area? You know,
Hmm.
oh, you know,
So
it's
it's
like it's a no-brainer who you do that.
what.
Let's go to Russell's book. I want to, because I was really excited to do Russell's book, and because Russell had this unique story to tell that he was on Wall Street and now he's on Main Street helping businesses like mine, you know, a wealth manager, and he had this team and he had a philosophy. Russell, tell us a little bit about you in the book.
Well, thank you for the floor, Henry, and thanks for everyone for listening. This is my book, and yeah, we kind of maybe a little like Jamie, or we kind of take a iconoclastic, rule breaker or whatever you want to call it, view towards being financial advisors. Um, it's one of my and I have so we're I'm a financial advisor. We've had the firm for like 7 years, but in my early years, I was like an institutional derivatives guy, like you saw in those like old movies and stuff, on like trading floors, and you know, uh, was kind of washed up at like 40, and then kind of started this more or less. And then, 40 is old. What I found was 40 is old on Wall Street, but very young to be a financial advisor. So that worked out well. And basically our philosophy is, one is that you know uh, Wall Street is a for-profit business, obviously, and in a very similar manner to Las Vegas. The old expression that when you see those pretty Las Vegas casinos, they weren't built on winners, and neither were the fancy buildings that everybody works in on Wall Street. And my general premise is, for my clientele is mostly like 55, 60 and older, and our target audience, we're mostly targeting people that we meet through the radio in Boston and DC. But our target audience, 55, 60 plus, our general premise for people with like 500,000 to maybe 5 million is the sweet spot. We do have larger clients than that too, 10, 15, 20, whatever. But our general premise is that, hey, Wall Street, for those clients, is generally trying to say, hey, we're a fiduciary, we're charging you fairly, we're charging you 1%, when in fact, really what they're doing is hiding conflicts of interest, misallocating your assets, giving you kind of paint by numbers advice that is very, very cookie cutter, and trying to charge you basically behind the scenes like 2 or 3% a year while saying they're only charging you 1%. And the book that, Henry and Devin and the team helped me put together, speaks to that story.
I always found that you had a relationship bias when I interviewed you, because you were doing the radio show and you were providing straight talk. And when people wanted to talk to you, you were educating them. It was you were building a bridge of trust, or you were building the relationship um, by giving them the straight scoop on things, um, which is not every financial advisor I've run into. That was a kind way of putting it, wasn't it, Russell? Uh,
Well, ours is one of those industries, and I won't put down any other industries where, and maybe a lot of industries are like this, where, 90% of the advice is crap. And, and it doesn't take a lot to sort of raise your hand and say, hey, I'm a financial advisor, some simple tests. There's some other industries like that. And a lot of people have been burned by our industry as well. They've had a lot of song and dance about how everything's going to be great, and then they had, bad experience. And so, a lot of our clients are refugees from like the big, what I call the big box firms, and that's deliberately pejorative, like Merrill, like Ameriprise, like Morgan Stanley, you know, you name it, and to many extent, we find, because of the nature of our message, where we're kind of saying, hey, you're getting cookie cutter advice. And then when people come in and talk to us, or they hear us on the radio, they're like, yeah, it is pretty cookie cutter. And I know it's cookie cutter. Um, and that doesn't mean that we're any great, geniuses here. We're not, I think financial planning, sorry if hopefully I'm not droning on, but financial planning, portfolio management, uh, should be a little like Warren Buffett, in the sense that the simpler, the better, and the more common sense that's applied, the better. And I'll give you an example, just again, while I'm to share for the story, but like we had somebody interviewing us, and then they were interviewing a couple other firms. And one of their last diligence questions was, are you using AI in your yeah, are you using AI to manage money? And I was like, no blank way. Like, no, like, it doesn't make any sense. And then when they call me like 2 hours later to sort of say, hey, we're awarding you the business, they're like, yeah, everybody else now says they're adding AI to their investment process. I'm like, give me a break. Anyway, sorry I was droning on.
well, you talk about cookie cutter and all that, and this is probably already here. I would say this is not far off. It's probably already here, where you can talk to a financial advisor who's really AI and will ask you questions and then say, well, based on that, you should put 20% into annuities. And, it's just um, these, uh, we're not far off. I've seen some things recently where um, they look like you're talking to a real person. And it's an
And look, it's
algorithm.
like, and look, like, probably the same thing is true like for doctors, right? like for a lot of this stuff that ails us on a day-to-day basis, there probably is some AI, and maybe if it could give us faster service to get like the antibiotic one, we would probably take it. But yeah, it's just like a doctor. Like if someone's saying like, hey, like, do you want someone saying, hey, I've treated this affliction 100, 1,000 times, and I know how it goes.
Yeah.
Our advice is the same way. Like, you're never gonna listen to some robot. You'll listen to a human being with your life savings, and I'm sure Jamie, for what you do and advertising and that sort of thing. It's like when people are putting their money places, they want a human being with experience so the buck can stop there.
What we, Henry, as you remember, we did completed some market research, and one of the things it found, which is why I think your authenticity in the show is coming through so highly. One of the things we found is that people are rating trust as equal to the product or service that you sell when it comes to making their decision now, right? Because that's how much distrust we have in this world right now. So somebody who can speak to it from the background that you have and be honest with them, that no wonder people are, so easily connecting with you, because now I've got this person I can really trust.
And don't we all have BS detectors that go off and so when they interviewed those other two advisors, the BS detectors went off.
Right.
I think we also probably all know, Jamie, I'm sure it's true in your business, that I mean, if you're in sales, which we're in, right? But the more you're like power selling people these
Mhm.
days, it just don't work, right?
Right.
So we're very deliberate with our language. Like, listen, like we have clients come in from, we'd say, come in for a complimentary consultation. Say, we're glad you're here. We're going to tell you a few things. Some people decide to become our clients. Some people don't. We're all going to be friends no matter what happens. It's very,
Right.
you gotta talk to people that way.
Right.
And then there's people also that I tell, like, they come in and I'm like, you're pretty good. Like you don't need my help, right?
It's true.
So I want to hear from Jamie and then Russell and then open it up for questions. But what I want to hear, Jamie, is tell us where you are at in your launch and what has been successful for you that you've been doing to help launch the book and get some buzz for it.
So we launched last month, and I guess, as you might expect from a company like ours, I think I ordered about 250 of them, and I had created a list of all of our existing clients, prospects, strategic partners, people who have really supported us in this business. And it accounted for, like, I think we had 130 names on the list. And we put together packages to mail out and get the book in the hands of all of these people. But we segmented that, right? So there were tiers of gift packages. There you go. And you got the little bookmark. And so what we did is I created supporting material that I wanted to go with the book that really sent a message and spoke to kind of what we believe at the heart of this is the bigger picture of what we're doing is this is all about helping people. When you acknowledge, when you show appreciation, when you show up for someone else, what you're really doing is kind of you're shifting their mental well-being, because I am in a better place because I feel seen and understood. And so we created some t-shirts and some hoodies and bookmarks to go with it that had those positive affirmations on it, that are really trendy right now for mental health. And we put that in the package with the book, because it was also the dedication of my book. Um, and we wrote messages to talk about why we paired those things together, and we sent that out to the hundreds of people. And we've been keeping track of all of the engagement we've had so far. And I have been booked on a podcast. I've had 2 meetings with prospects. Now, they're not exactly sales meetings, but they're meetings where we're kind of getting to know each other even more. So far, we've had a 48% response rate in conversation. And so we continue to grow this list. We're looking at associations, other podcast hosts, and things like that. And we'll keep mailing that stuff out to get in front of kind of the decision makers there. That's where we're at.
So Russell, what about your launch? How's that been going and what's been working? Because you had a nice hit there that you shared.
Well, yeah, I mean, maybe our purpose of the book and you know, maybe our business probably, you know, everyone's business is different, right? Like for us, like we run into a lot of prospects, and while the people who become clients are all important, right? You know, we you know, new business, maybe it's nobody's different here. Like new business acquisition is super important. And it also, the referral business is almost non-existent. It's kind of bizarre. So like, in other
Hmm.
words, like nobody really talks, not at least in the Northeast, nobody says like, you got to try my financial advisor. It's very rare because like, what if they lose money or something? It's not a referral business. So the biggest way that we use the book is as a differentiator. Like, so when you get into my office or we're talking about it on the radio show or whatever, is like, hey, you know, I'm a published author, right? That's the biggest differentiator. And yeah, we promote it a little bit. We do a little bit of PR, like you mentioned, um, Henry. I was on like the New York Stock Exchange floor, which is, if anyone ever has a chance to go, it's kind of funny now that there's no activity on the New York Stock Exchange floor other than journalism. Like there's no trading that occurs anymore.
Oh,
And I
that's
was being
funny.
interviewed by one of the, not CNBC, but like Schwab has their own. And you know, then we get a nice sort of video clip that we can say, hey, Russ was on. And then we have, you know, like a MailChimp list of like 2 to 3 thousand people. Maybe I'm getting too granular here, but
Yeah.
you know, that are, you know, all the people we've ever talked to over the last several years, include clients and non-clients. And we, you know, we say like, hey, promoting the book, you know, and you know, it's a very strong validator for us, you know, and but we're not, yeah, we're not trying to sell 100,000 books. I mean, that would be nice, but we're not really trying that. We're using it as a differentiator, and the message itself really, that hey, Wall Street's not your friend, really jumps out.
Right.
We did a good job, Henry, coming up. Like we came up with that when you came to visit while we were writing the book.
Now you give
We
yours away then too? You give your book away? Or you
not
sell?
not really, unless
Okay.
somebody is if somebody's in our office and they're a pretty hot prospect, I'll give them one. But yeah, we're not like shipping them out to people.
Okay.
Like I tell my existing clients, yeah, buy it on Amazon, give me a good review. Yeah. And they do.
Good.
The you know, there's, like you said, there's different strategies and reasons. You're following what I call the credibility strategy. So
Hmm.
and you're sort of above the fray. You don't want to look like you're shilling a book at all. It's well, an
Right.
author. Oh, you know, well, you can find it on Russell. You know, the best time for an author is not when they do their first book. It's when they do their second book. Because when people say, "Oh, Russell, I'd like to read your book," you can say, "Oh, which one?" Um,
Exactly. Well, that's you, Henry, giving me the soft sell on. I'm
that's
Yeah.
working on the
right.
second
Yeah.
one, so that was really well done. I like that.
You could also have said, "I saw what you did there, Henry."
I like that.
Right.
So, you know, it was it was it was a good amount of work. But it's
Well,
done.
yeah, it's
But
like,
I'm sure we'll do another one. I am sure, and I ain't calling anybody else other than Henry, that's for sure.
yeah.
And Devin, I should say.
I'll be in your area in June, by the way. So anyway, but Russell, I want you to give this book a lot of love for a year. That's the author's
Definitely.
job once it comes off, is giving it love and getting on those podcasts and interviews. And um, while you don't want to do mass giveaways, um, I always recommend the minimum requirement, like your minimum daily vitamin requirement, your minimum monthly requirement as an author is to do 2 showcases. This is a showcase. Your own
Yeah.
shows are showcases, so 2 showcases a month. And um,
Yeah.
and 20 outreaches. Send a book. Jamie has helped other clients, and one of her clients asked me if he could buy 48 copies of my book to send agency owners. And I said, no, I will send 48
you.
copies for free
Yeah.
to Jamie if she will send them out to prospects. So yeah, you want to get them in the hands of key prospects. We're not papering the world. Um, Podcasters and journalists who can make a difference. Jamie, I wanted to give you a compliment, but to Russell's point, I'm not going to badmouth the exact person who did this. But yesterday, I received from Amazon an unsolicited book in the mail
Hmm.
because I'm a journalist. I have TV shows, I have, columns, I have all sorts of things. So I imagine this person was hoping I would review the book and all that. There's no note, there's nothing
Ah.
about any connection we have. And then I looked at yours, and even aside from the cool stuff, which Jamie said, oh, if this cool stuff isn't for you, please pass it along to somebody who would enjoy it. Nice. But there was a note that was specifically written for me and about our relationship. And it was sincere praise. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
none of us want flattery. Well, it's
Yeah.
okay. But if I could get sincere praise, that would be better.
Right.
So something like that is so meaningful.
Mm-hmm.
So and just overall, um, I think everything you can do, there's so many gifts you can give. Um, and it's not just, a nice package like this that, and we use Jamie to send out thank yous to our authors and things like that. But hers, she goes like, she got something and she goes, did you send this? And I said, yeah, I thought it'd be tacky to hire you to send yourself a thank you gift. So we had to go outside the system on that one. I think
That's
Harry and
good.
David, I think something.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, something edible. But one of the reasons I have a TV show is to invite people to be on the TV show.
Mm-hmm.
With this show, with the community thing, we invite authors to be on the show. We encourage other authors to talk about themselves, which I need to get to right now, because those are gifts that build relationship. When I write about somebody or I post about what they're doing or anything like this,
Yeah.
we got a great tip. But if you've got your Dream 25 prospect list and you have your Dream 25 relationship list, Jamie just got an invitation to go to dinner together when we're both going to be in Denver, and I'm going to introduce her to some people if she comes. That's a gift. What are these other gifts you can be doing to build the relationship? Um,
Well,
Go ahead.
so I think that one of the things that I've started to clear up is that I think our minds, when we say gift, naturally goes to things like the holiday or birthday gift. But truly, the definition of gift means to give something. And what we remind people is that can be your book, your smarts, your knowledge, any assets that you have that can help somebody. That's a gift. It doesn't mean you have to, oh, what am I going to go buy flowers for so and so, So I invite people to think a little bit broader about what you put in front of someone, because that's where the real value is.
Devin, I'd like to open it up to the Brady Bunch thing where it's everybody. And this is the audience participation part. And really encourage people when you ask a question, brief introduction about what your book, either your book that you've written and published or what your upcoming book is, and then ask your question. And you can ask the question of Henry, Devin, who is the authority on book production, book promotion on Amazon and social media and those things, and certainly the authors who have their experience here. So I'd like to open it up. Who would like to ask a question? Robert, you're on mute. There you go.
Robert Begley, author of the upcoming book called Voices of Reason, which studies 7 historical speeches throughout history through the lens of Aristotle's rhetoric, ethos, logos, and pathos. And my question, both for Russell and Jamie, is when were your books published, and what was like the process you went through, and any bumps that caught you off guard? So it's 3 questions in one.
Yeah.
Let's start with Jamie.
Mine was just released last month, and I think I worked on it for like a year and a half. I thought this was going to be, I thought it'd be really good and easy edit because I had been blogging for a while for the business. And so I took all those blogs, compiled them, thought I had a nice flow, and Henry said, nice try. And so we kind of had to go back to the table from a point of view, flow standpoint. But it was that second round that really nailed it and kind of changed the overall direction. And that moved a lot faster. So, and then obviously went through the process with Devin and team for all of the editing and getting that up on Amazon.
How long did that take?
The editing, I mean, all of that. From the moment we said this is good, it was 3 months.
Yeah, yours was pretty fast from that point. And it's not unusual that people will write a first draft of a book and we all take a breath and go, oh, not that book. I mean, that happened with my Warren Buffett book. I was like, the deadline to submit it to McGraw-Hill was 45 days away, and my co-author and I looked at it and said, not this book. And we did the misery approach, where we went to a hotel in Orange County, California, and stayed there for 48 hours until we had a new book written and submitted that. And then Russell's a fan of Warren Buffett, as I am, and Warren's been in the Warren. Like I own a few shares of Berkshire B. We're not really on a first name basis, but Mr. Buffett just announced his retirement, and but I wrote this 12 years ago, and I still do media interviews with people who want insights into Warren Buffett. So your book, as a publicity tool, can be a gift that keeps giving for a decade. But the point of this is I had to rewrite, and some of our great books, like Jamie's, had to be rewritten. Russell, the publishing path, once we nailed down and said that's the manuscript, because we went kind of back and forth a lot on this. It wasn't me saying, no, not this book, Russell. It was you pushing that we can do better on this. We can refine these things, we can do better. So once we got through that, how fast was the publishing?
Well, I think, yeah, the whole process from beginning to end was like a year and a half. I think, but I think like 6 months of that was like balls in Russell's court and he's not really doing anything because I was paying attention to other things. So it definitely could have been faster. And that's my fault. I think the book got off to a great start when we initially sat down, Henry, and you kind of said, hey, there's a few different ways to actually write a book, in for a person like you. And we chose this sort of 20 essays approach, like 20 different little, and because of my radio show, I had some, maybe akin to like Jamie's blog. I had, a lot of stuff out there, and, that allowed us to organize it from the beginning, and we just shaped it. And then, yeah, from the point where we were pretty close to done to publishing was, less than 3 months.
Well, now, to be fair to Robert's question, and we're an open book. So any bump during publishing you want to talk about?
No, I thought it was all very straightforward. There's some other people. Who did I work with? Mike also, right? Devin, you know were there's other people on the team, but I thought it was pretty straightforward, but it's like, I mean, if you're in any business like I am, we all have like sort of some version of like ADD now, right? We're used to doing things like 3 minutes at a time. And then when it's like, oh, you better sit down and do this for 2 hours straight and turn off everything. Well, I'm kind of not used to that. But,
Yeah.
yeah,
Hey, Russell,
yeah.
because I hear you, and there's something I'm trying something now. There's a book out there, we didn't publish it, called the 5 a.m. Club, and it's about
I don't like it already.
okay,
That's
it's like the
Just
miracle,
stop there.
it's like Miracle Morning, but from 5 a. Devin would hate it. From 5 to 6, I'm exercising and meditating
Oh, yeah.
and
Yeah.
reading
Good
and all
bet.
that. And then from 6 to 8, I'm writing because nobody bothers me for 2 hours of concentrated activity. If
Do
you
you
own
do
a
that? Do you
business,
do that? Do you do that now,
today
Henry?
was day one. It was
Oh.
great. Tell me about a month from now.
We'll ask you tomorrow, actually.
Yeah. Oh, no, well, I've done my business partner, he's done these things for a week before where and it's because I'm on the West Coast, the left coast, that he's
Ah,
central. He calls a 7 a.m. meeting for a group of
yeah.
us. It's 5 a.m. for me.
Yeah.
So I was amazing how much I would get done during those weeks because the meeting lasted for 15 minutes. At 5:15, I was like, well, I've had coffee, I'm awake. And I could get a
Not
lot
good for
done. So
me.
that's why I'm
Not good for
trying.
me. But I think one of my favorite parts of, because I used to get up at 5 a.m. and go down work in the canyons of Wall Street. And one of the
Yeah.
best parts of being an entrepreneur is I sleep till 7 every day.
Oh,
Nice.
and 7, Devin, he sleeps until 7.
Sleeps in.
Well,
Now, Devin's a
but
night owl.
Oh,
you
I'm a
know,
morning
So,
person.
you just have to know who you are for that.
One
So,
of your
yeah,
other
the 5 a.m.
authors,
club. Yeah, you're not going to join this club.
one of the other authors in the family had a good suggestion when I was also dragging my feet, Russell. That he said, take the writing to a different place. So like if I'm in the office here all the time, take the writing home or go someplace where it's a different setting. And so when I would go work on the porch because that was my comfortable, relaxed spot, and I could plug away in the quiet without, the team or whatever. So that's kind of what pushed me through.
Yeah. I'll go to cabins or resorts. So our joke is the Stephen King. It's the misery approach where you go away and lock yourself. I did it once to write a screenplay. I went and I chose cheap motels, 6 days, 6 days in a motel to do the first draft of my screenplay.
that's
So
misery.
it's possible, but that is the misery approach. Yeah, it was like, takeout food. Okay, Robert, question.
Just on that note, I would say of the 39,000 words, 3/4 of them were done between 5 a.m. and 7 a.m. That's when I'm most effective before I plug into the world who wants emails and text messages. So that 5 a.m. club, I know about it, but I don't need to do it because
Yeah.
I do it.
Deepak Chopra, his books, he says he writes during that time. Gets it done. And then like at 8 o'clock, by 8 a.m., you're running an empire.
Yeah.
You
But I
can't-
love what you said also, Henry, and we'll turn it over to other people about what to do after. The two of you today, Jamie and Russell, you're already published. I'm not. But what you said, like the constant outreach and the 20, touches per day, all of that. I wish I could say I'm looking forward to that. I just know that it's a necessary thing.
You love your baby, don't you, Robert? You want the world to know how beautiful your baby is, so you gotta step it up there. Is there any other question? Sig, good to hear you.
Yeah, sure. So quick intro on myself and little background. I have a thing called the 5% rule. I'm a professional speaker and an aspiring author. I'd say call it half done with my book. Hard to know for sure. It's my first one. And one of the things I speak about a lot, it's actually a chapter in my book, is the 5% rule. And the 5% rule is the idea of spending 5% every day on the things that really matter. You all will check your cell phone if you're an average person 205 times today. 205 times you'll check your cell phone. You'll spend over 2 hours on social media. You know, the list can go on. And the idea of the 5% rule is 5% of 24 hours is 72 minutes. Maybe you sleep a little, 5% of 14 hours is 42 minutes. So whether it's a date with your spouse, time with your kids, for me, it's writing a book. I have to spend 42 to 72 minutes every day over time, or my book will never get written. And so that's one of the applications for me. So I have a whole chapter on how to implement that with the right mindset and tools that come along with doing that.
Send me a copy of your book and an invoice. Send me a signed copy of your book and an invoice, Sig. I look forward to doing that. If your book is under $25.
Well, I'm
I
targeting
said that
getting
to
it.
one person and he sent me an invoice for $1,000 book.
I'm targeting having it done in August, September timing. And my book title, the working title, is Dying to Be the World's Best. So I believe everyone has the power, talent, capacity within us to be the world's best version of ourselves. So it's providing people the tools to accomplish that every day and the right mindset. And it's born out of 35 weeks ago, I died and had a sudden cardiac arrest. I was dead for more than 8 minutes.
Wow.
And there's a whole personal story when I had a little bit of anterograde amnesia for 3 days and didn't remember anything from the hospital first 3 days. But yet I said thousands of times to everyone, "You are the world's best," unconsciously, not knowing I was saying it. So that's the origin of it.
Wow.
What did you call that amnesia?
And it's called anterograde amnesia. It's like Groundhog Day. I could remember everything in my life before my cardiac arrest, but I couldn't form new memories for the first 3 days. And the odds of being mentally and physically okay are less than 1%. So for my family, they're thinking, is this the new Sig? He just keeps saying, these things again and again and again, and not remembering anything we're telling him. So I read about all that in detail in my book, which has been very fun to write so far. I do have a question.
Sig, are you open to an idea?
Yeah.
Okay. I hope you made a note of everybody on this phone call. And you should reach out to everyone on the phone call on LinkedIn. And, and then if you want to go deeper, it's Robert, really looking forward to that book about those important speeches. Russell, I'm going to look into getting your book about differentiating from Wall Street. Jamie, your take on relationships, fascinating, etc. Eric is a fundraising expert. That's what his book's on, if he gets to speak. And then don't try to sell us anything, but revisit our posts from time to time, or say, hey, I met an interesting author on a call today, and do that. Relationships, sometimes the gift you give is just some attention and hearing and spreading the message. One author once, I was writing an article on her, Gretchen Rubin, Devin, best-selling New York Times author, The Happiness Project. And I said, Gretchen, thank you so much for agreeing to be here and being interviewed. And she said, Henry, thank you for shining a spotlight on my book. And I said, Gretchen, I'm going to steal that. I'm going to say that from now on when anything happens. Thank you for shining a spotlight on my book. And we all think that authors, they're too busy, or they don't need appreciation for us or kind of accolades. Don't you believe it? Wait till you get a long letter from somebody about how your book changed their life, and see if you don't treasure that. You don't go, well, that's nice, and throw it in the garbage. I have a box of things that I call it the treasure chest that I put in.
It is so true. These unusual.
On a bad day, I take them all out and read them. I've never read them, but they're in a box that go in there.
To Jamie's point, or maybe you do this, Jamie, but we send out for our business, we send out holiday cards, but we also send out birthday cards.
Yeah.
And and then we have everyone in our 7-person firm sign it.
Uh-huh.
And like the clients were like, yours was the only birthday card I got because nobody gets birthday cards anymore, right?
Yeah,
So that worked. That's an interesting one that works.
it means a lot. It stands
Sig,
out.
Yeah, I'm going to go back to Sig. Sig, I think I cut you off
Question.
with a question.
Yeah,
What was your question?
no worries. So it seems as though for sure Russell and Jamie are using the book not to sell a lot of books, but to market
Market.
and sell your core business. So how do you measure the return on that? Do you have anything formal you're doing, or is it just, hey, business goes up, I'm doing more agency work, I'm getting new clients?
Well, for me, because this is what we help other people do, is measure that type of engagement. It's more than just the sale. Sometimes it's it opens up other opportunities that you had no idea were out there. So when you put your book in someone's hand and all of a sudden they say, do you speak on this? Because, we have this event coming up, or, hey, so-and-so and I were just talking about this. I think you should talk to them. So now you got your referrals, right? So for us, we always tell people to measure each point of engagement, whether it's just the phone call, an email, an introduction, speaking opportunity, invitations, that kind of thing. Measure them all, because that's when you see your true return.
I'd say that yeah, for us, we exist in a very, I mean, I guess everyone's in a saturated industry, but we're not B2B, right? We're B2C. And therefore in every geography that we're in, like, basically mostly Boston and DC, in every market that we're in, there's thousands of other people that are somehow marketing themselves that the clients could choose. So anything that is just helping us differentiate ourselves, just being on the radio, even though we pay to be on the radio, like we do these hour-long shows on the weekends, but writing a book, it is all, the diplomas on the wall or great qualifications we have or whatever. It's all about, like, hopefully what makes this person, and it really is a very individual hire, like they're hiring me, or I have a couple colleagues, they're hiring a firm, very individualized, almost like hiring a doctor, and so it is just like whatever is going to drive home that credibility. And I think this is definitely additive. How additive, it's hard to say, but there's no way it's anything but good.
Sig, we've tracked it over the years because we believe in measurable results. And the data we've collected is that authors get an ROI of 4x to 20x, otherwise 400 to 2000%. So from overall costs that they put into this. So let's say that might be $20,000 to $40,000. Then they're if they then love their book once it's published and do the minimum of a couple of showcases a month and mailing out so many pieces, 20 a month. It wasn't 20 a day. I think somebody said 20 a day. No, 20 a month, 5 a week, 1 a day. Is this just this steady getting out there with it? Then it's 80 to 400,000. We have testimonials of people who say the book made them $1 million. They tracked it over and that one is like a decade. An extra $1 million over the decade that they can, because those are people who are really into measurement, like Jamie. Henry and Devin more than Henry, but Henry's more into good feelings. Eric, question, and then this is going to wrap it up.
Do we still have time? Okay. Both of you.
Hi, I'm Eric. Hi, I'm Eric, and I'm author of the book.
I'm sorry. Hi, I'm Eric. I'm the author of The Art and Science of Donor Bliss, The Donor's Journey to Making a Difference with Your Giving.
Oh, what's your question?
I'm working on my second book, doing the research more slowly than I would like. But both of you on the radio with blogs and whatnot, and I'm taking this research, which is largely interviews with nonprofit leaders on the problems that they're encountering right now, especially around social license to exist. But how helpful has been this past work you've done on the blogs or on the radio, that body of work in writing the book?
Well, that's what
I'd
got
also
me
like to have a
started.
blog.
Well, so I did the same thing, and I still do the interviews now, where I interviewed. So I started with agency owners, and that was the focus of this book. There's a second book that Henry wants that's focused on financial advisors. So we're currently interviewing financial advisors, and then I turn each one of those into a blog, doing the same thing you're doing, where we're talking about the challenges and the successes they have. That's what started the content of the book, but it augments then the strategy that I teach. So now the book focuses on this is how we do it, but it showcases how to do that with agencies and other B2B service providers. So
do you highlight the individual? Because I'm just looking for common areas that you could write about. Here's a common area everyone has.
If you want, I'll put my email in there, because I can send you the very first thing I ever did was created an ebook out of those interviews. And then the ebook later fed the real book, the full book. But so it was blog to ebook to book. But just so you can see an example. And then in the real book, sometimes I use names depending on my relationship and, you know, if they were case studies. Sometimes it's just very general.
Thank you.
And yeah, as far as my answer is, like, yeah, we have done, you know, I mean, I do a radio show once a week for the last several years, right? So there's a lot of them. And then that was very helpful then, is in working with Henry initially to be like, okay, how are we gonna, you know, get a book out of Russ's philosophy? And this was, you know, there was a ton of stuff that he was, you know, we were able to you know, transcribe and things like that, and then, like, you know, come up with the major ideas and then kind of fill in from there. So it was and that the radio show itself, you know, you know, because and the meetings we do day to day, and oh yeah, Jamie, and I'm glad you posted your email. I'm going to shoot you an email after this, because I'm always looking for new marketing ideas.
Yeah, I would love to interview you as well. So.
Yeah, but yeah, I would have had no idea how to structure or write a book or tell a story without the help of you know, Henry and Devin and the team. But having the raw materials there, but I would have no way to organize it and make it look good without their help.
Takes a team, Russell.
Eric, I'll just add one thing as an aspiring author, and it helps me with my speeches too. I've done about 20 podcasts in the last 2 months as a guest. And I view every opportunity to talk about a topic that's unique and different. You know, 80% of it may be the same. It's my core story, but I'll make something up that I want to try out, and it gives me an opportunity to get reaction and just trial balloons.
You're like a stand-up comic who's going to go on the Oscars, and you're trying the material out in clubs.
Yeah.
I like it.
That's impressive.
Chris Rock did that for a month before he hosted the Oscars.
Yeah.
He would show up at every little comedy club and say, "Can I have 5 minutes?"
Oh.
Sure, Chris Rock, you can have 5 minutes.
Right.
Smart.
Well, thanks everybody. A great session.
Thank you, Henry.
Just wanted to remind you, we do these every month, and it's a way to network and form relationships with other authors. And it's so important. Jamie referenced the family. That's what we call all our authors, the Indie Books family. And it's about family helping each other, because we're not in this alone in this publishing game. And the secret is relationships. So thanks everybody for attending, and hope to see you again. Thanks everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Henry, can I